Hey everybody, welcome to NASPA Tonight.
This is all of your Scrabble news in 25 minutes or less.
I'm Josh Greenway.
I'm Jackson Smylie.
Let's talk about Scrabble.
And the time starts now.
Oh, you started it. Perfect.
Really?
We want to introduce our guest tonight, live in studio, coming off of cash positions in both NASC and Niagara Falls. It's Josh Sokol, everybody. Josh, how are you?
Can I talk now?
Yes.
Doc.
Yes.
Take them off.
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. I love this.
For the
This is
third
awesome.
time,
But I'm actually here this time.
everyone knows you from
This isn't
your
Photoshop.
webcam in Montreal. He's
That's right.
really here this time. I can't believe it. Never thought we'd get him on.
Well, speaking of getting him on and having you on, Jackson, both of you guys posted pretty impressive results at NASC. Is that right?
Yeah, we both had pretty good tournaments. Like, we almost never have good tournaments, so we were both pretty happy to finally not lose. Josh, how did you do in each tournament?
I did slightly worse than you and then significantly better than you.
Significantly better. Would you listen to that?
So let's break it down. NASC.
NASC.
Finish.
6th place.
7th place.
In Niagara Falls.
2nd place.
5th place. He beat me in the final 2 games. I can't
Wow.
believe it.
Wow.
We'll post about it later. You guys will see.
So you guys are flush with cash now.
We are. We have about 2,000 between us.
Wow. What's the first thing you bought?
The first thing I bought was food, so I can finally eat after all these weeks of starvation. I don't know what I bought. Josh bought a train ticket home. I know that.
No.
At some point.
No.
Now, I thought you were biking everywhere. Isn't that what you guys do now?
We're
That's your
biking.
stick?
We're biking
Wink,
back
wink.
to Montreal. Okay, we can do that.
All
So
right.
it's good. Yeah, Nationals was great. You were at Nationals as well.
I was at Nationals. I was at Niagara. I almost cashed at Niagara in
What
the very.
happened?
We'll get into that later when we cover those results. And in, I
were
guess at
working.
Nationals I did cash, but I earned
cashed
that
it.
money
You worked
rather
hard
than
for
just
it.
lucked into it like you guys. So let's get into it. We've got a packed agenda tonight.
Lots has happened in the last week. As many of you know, the North American Scrabble Championship and the Niagara Falls International Open both took place within the last 2 weeks, back to back. It was an amazing time. First and foremost, we want to congratulate Joel Sherman on the 2018 North American Scrabble Players Championship victory. I can never remember the words for that. Joel Sherman is our champion for another year unless he decides to defend his title again next year. But it's amazing. He follows Will Anderson. He stole it from Will Anderson this year.
And
Ron
it's
Robert.
it's Joel's second Nationals. The first one was 16 years ago.
Yes.
And he also has a Worlds, which makes him one
Pretty
of the
decorated,
most
yeah.
decorated players. So congratulations to Joel. That was pretty amazing.
We should give him some sort of like, you know what they do to the military, like the stars?
Yeah, he should get stars for each win he gets. What's interesting about Joel's win is that this makes his victories the second most distant of any player. The only player to have 2 Nationals victories farther apart that are consecutive is David Gibson, who won in 1994 and 2016, 22 years
Gotcha.
apart. But Joel Sherman, 16 years is pretty good. He's been up and at it for quite a while.
I did a great little interview with Joel, and one of the things I asked him what his greatest Scrabble accomplishment was. And he referenced the world champion and the national champion. He said, well, those are kind of obvious. But I feel like one of the most important is being able to play at a high level for such a long time.
Yeah.
And that certainly proved to be true when a
Yeah,
few days
absolutely.
later, he pulled off what many believe would have been an impossible task. Josh, can you tell us about what the situation was, what he had to do to win?
Well, the first thing that had to be done is they had to change the pairings midway through Nationals to make sure that Joel had a chance at defeating Nigel. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to play Nigel 3 times in a row. And guess what? He needed to beat Nigel Richards 3 times in a row, and he did it, apparently. I still don't believe it. He did it.
Amazing. There was a lot of, there really was some controversy over the pairings.
Oh, yeah.
And people were generally pretty outraged. I saw some like never mind public messages, but direct messages to me.
I send a couple direct messages myself.
But I think kudos should be given
Absolutely,
to those guys for, I think what everybody would agree is making the right decision. Not everybody thinks that it should have been done the way that it was done, but we got to where we wanted to get to, I guess.
Just the fact of opening up your mind and being willing to at least ask the players, which is what they did. They asked them if they're all okay with it. I think that shows a very strong moral character that they did that, and I'm very pleased with that.
Absolutely. Now, on top of that, then Joel goes out and wins 3 in a row against Nigel, which is pretty unbelievable.
And what's crazy is 10 years prior, Nigel Richards pulled off the same feat against Brian Capoletto, who at the time was considered to be the best in the world by many. So it's kind of cool that Nigel got what was coming to him 10 years later.
Why don't I know these facts?
I know. Jackson has really done his research.
I spend half my life on cross tables.
Thanks, Seth.
I do want to say that I've been using an example to try to explain to people what the size of this feat was. Now, I don't expect you guys to understand this, but 2 Super Bowls ago, the New England Patriots were down I think it was 27-3 against the Atlanta Falcons, and they came all the way back in the second half, and it was really just considered an incredible comeback, and I put that on par with that. Yeah. So enough about real world sports. Let's get back to make 'em up sports.
So Joel Sherman won the TVL division, which is, we crowned him the champion. But in the Collins division, it was very close the whole way through. It was not really clear who was going to win. I think Jason Keller was leading most of the way, but then in the final day, it was Evan. Evan Borowski
was up. He basically they took the luggage out of his room and put it in that Division 1 area because he was on there for so long.
Jeez, funny.
But then in the last game, it was Evans Clinchey versus Jason Keller. Winner takes all, winner takes the tournament. Neither of them had ever won the Collins division at Nationals before.
Or any division.
Any division ever.
Right.
But Evans Clinchey, he won and he regained his 2100 rating and he won the Collins division at Nationals.
Pretty amazing. He had done, he had some pretty really consistent, good results.
He did.
Each of the last 2 years, he was 20-11, but this year he was able to break 3 at 23-8 and claim the championship. So that was really cool.
And then we have 3 more divisions. We have the second division. Congratulations to Jan Cardia. She beat Zach Ansel.
I think she managed to hold off
Zach Ansel. The school Scrabble champion Zach Ansel, who I think, I'm not sure if he placed second or third or what, but he still did very well.
And it's a big accomplishment on Jan's side. I mean, Jan's been playing for a long time. We've covered this on this show before. She has over 7,000 games, I think.
She's the number 2 on games played.
Right, number 2 on games played.
Comment the number 1 most games played if you know the answer.
Yeah, throw that in the comments. Absolutely. I know the answer.
Jan has been in Division 2, competitive in Division 2 and in Division 1 before. She's always been up there, a threat or a favorite.
And we're always waiting for her to win, and this year she pulled it off.
That's right.
There were 5 people at 19-9 going into the final day. Who's going to win it? But she got it.
So, and I think we're going to hear more from Zach Ansel.
I think so.
As things go forward. He was
for him.
Yeah.
In the third division, we had Doug Critchlow holding off Bruce Kramer. Doug Critchlow is a really interesting story because if you look at his cross tables page, his last 2 tournaments before this Nationals were also Nationals. He just seems to play Nationals every year. He's won the bottom division before a couple of years ago, and then he came 3rd again in the bottom division. So he always cleans up at Nationals. I was not surprised to see him win the 3rd division. That was pretty amazing. Every year he always comes in with some fresh new game that he's just going to unwrap and destroy everyone with.
Just want to shout out some of the commentators there. First of all, Will thinks that he's going to win again in 2060 to break the record for how long the distance is between those things. Zev gave a nice shout out to Josh, which I assume is this Josh because Zev doesn't normally say anything to me. And we have some nice compliments from Sarah as well. And just thanks everybody for tuning in, for watching. Let's go. We've got
one
the
more
fourth
division,
right?
Fourth division. it was a battle between the youngsters. We had Evan Yurko and Cherish Mbiokolo leading the entire way, pretty much from day one, I think.
Yeah.
They were both like in the middle of the pack rating wise going in, and they completely dominated the field. They were switching out between the number 1 and 2 spots the whole way through. And in the final day, it came down to who was going to win 2 out of 3 games. They were going to play 3 times. Whoever won 2 was going to win it. And it ended up being Evan Yurko in the final game. So congratulations, Evan Yurko, on the Division 4 win. And also congratulations to Cherish on an equally amazing tournament.
Let's face it, Cherish was kind of one of the breakout stars at this Nationals, and I think there were people who were definitely rooting for her to win that division. Definitely props to Evan, but Cherish was on. Robin did a nice interview with her.
Yeah,
I did an interview with her, but the sound was screwed up, unfortunately.
Really?
It was the only one time that our live show didn't quite carry through, so I'm sorry about that, Cherish. But I promise we'll end up doing another interview one day.
We'll see both of these people more, I'm sure.
I think so. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think there's no need to just cherish the small moment we've had with Cherish, and she'll be back.
Beauty. Okay, now we're gonna have you guys break down the final play, basically the winning play. This is Joel against Nigel. And what do we want to look at here first? We're looking at the first board, right?
This is a position. This is in the final game, round 31. Joel Sherman has to win this game if he wants to win. The winner of this game wins the title. So that's where we're at right now. So what the play we're looking at is Nigel's play of Fumed. You can see he played Fumed at G5. His rack was DEFHMUY. So the play that Crackle likes and the play that seems kind of standard is to play Tumify from the T in Lifest. So Josh, why do you think Nigel did not play Tumify, the standard play? Why did he play Fumed instead?
Nigel seems to have liked how the board was at that very moment and did not feel the need to open up new spots for Joel to bingo through. However, by scoring 36 points, it's very debatable whether or not Nigel should have left the board as is. As Fumed puts him ahead only 45 points, not necessarily enough to withstand a bingo play from Joel. Tumify does even better and might do a better job at withstanding that bingo.
What I found interesting about this position, and I looked at it a few hours ago at work, is that there were 15 tiles in the bag when Nigel was making this play. Before his play, there were 15 tiles in the bag. So one reason I think Nigel may have wanted not to play Tumify is that Tumify then leaves 10 tiles in the bag, and if Joel Sherman bingos immediately, that will leave 3 tiles in the bag, and Joel Sherman will probably take a 10 or 20 point lead. And if there's 3 tiles in the bag, Nigel may find it very difficult to outrun Joel at that point because he will want to go out first. And with 3 tiles in the bag, it makes it very difficult to make 2 words that let him go out first. Having 3 tiles in the bag is very disadvantageous for Nigel at this point after Joel bingos because Nigel may have to leave 1 tile in the bag and then Joel Sherman can retain his lead. So I felt like a big reason Nigel didn't want to play Tumify is that there were 15 tiles in the bag, and Tumify doesn't actually do that great of a job of outrunning bingos because of how many tiles it leaves in the bag after Joel bingos. So that was my thinking on this play of why Nigel elected to not play the seemingly obvious move Tumify. Josh, what do you think?
I disagree, but let's move forward.
Okay, ready for slide 2, gentlemen? Here we go.
This is the next move here. Nigel, once again, allots not to play from the T in Leafist. This time he could have played touchy or even just touch to set up his Y and E's. Instead of scoring, again, 36 points, he decides to play the move Echoey for 15 points, which doesn't allow as many bingo plays for Joel. And once again, it was a question of whether or not he can really withstand anything that Joel comes up with. Echoey might lose the game to not even a non-bingo play. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like Echoey the more I look at it, because I think Nigel has to make a decision here about whether he can withstand bingo. And I think the more I look at this, I think the harder it is for Nigel to actually withstand a bingo of Joel's. So I think he's actually correct in playing Echoey and just trying to lower the chance of Joel bingoing. Because if Nigel tries to outrun Joel's bingo, Joel can play at 4A. He can score like a 30 or 40 point play and then bingo. And then Nigel's definitely not winning after that situation. So I think Nigel's probably best off just conceding that if Joel bingos, Nigel will lose, but he's just trying to lower the chance of that happening and just saying, okay, as long as Joel doesn't bingo, I'll win. So I'll just try to make sure Joel doesn't bingo. So I think I like Echoey a lot.
And now we're going to flip to the third slide. I think while we do that, does anyone know what Joel picked up after his play? I think that's what sets this play up.
He played on keeping NRST, hoping he could just draw a bingo out. He was emptying the bag with on. He had to hope he could draw a bingo. And then you can see here what he drew. Won him the national championship to draw GS blank. He had strings in 2 spots. He could hook Tau with an S on the bottom left side of the board, and he could hook N with the S as he did. So it was only by drawing these 2 unblockable bingo spots that he was able to win nationals. And kudos to Joel.
So nice job, Joel. That's amazing. Thanks for the commentary there, guys.
I think Nigel choked. I'll continue with Cesar's hashtags there. 2 if I can't melt steel beams. All of these 9/11 inside job hashtags are perfect for this situation.
I like it, Cesar. So let's move on to Niagara Falls. So we have an interesting storyline here in terms of the winner. It's Will Anderson.
Will Anderson, the guy that's always commenting on our videos. Thank you. Hello, Will.
Absolutely. So Will follows up last year's NASC championship with this year's Collins Niagara title. And I think there's a little bit of a redemption story here. I spoke with Will on the first day of Niagara, and quite frankly, he was still, I think, at a loss as to what had happened at Nationals. He had a respectable 26th place finish, but coming off of a year where he won, it was obviously a little bit of a disappointment. And he played, he was telling me, only, I think, missed 2 bingos, didn't get caught on any challenges either way, which are very similar to his previous year. And it just goes to show that, Scrabble is a game where there's a lot of different things that can happen.
Yeah, sometimes the stats just don't really reflect what's going on. The stats can be the same one year to the next, and yet you perform completely differently, and that seems to be what happened with him.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I think it's a redemption story. He comes back. And not only does he come back and win, he does. We talked about Joel doing the impossible. Well, he did the near impossible by holding off Nigel by winning the final 2 games and 3 of the last 4 to take that tournament. And I think he double blanked Nigel in both of them. I don't know what Joel's blank count was in the other one, but certainly kudos. And I would think that it would be frustrated on Nigel's part, but who knows? Who can read that guy?
I mean, I think the second storyline here, not only did Will have the redemption storyline, we also have the other Nigel choking storyline, which Josh, I'm sure you would love to talk about.
Storyline.
Well, and we'll get into that in a second. Let's bang out Niagara Falls. So congratulations to Will. Both of you guys finished in the top 5. You came in second place, right?
Place.
Oh no, but we're talking about right. I'm getting lexicon split. So let's give a congratulations to
our man, Torontonian Max Panic.
Yes,
he won
Max.
the TWL division. It was a pretty big win. There were a lot of 2,000 players in the field. This is definitely Max's biggest win to date. So that was pretty cool, especially coming off of a nationals for him that was even worse than Will's. He had a terrible nationals.
Yikes.
And this is a great redemption for him. So bringing it back to Toronto. I love it.
Max.
Nice job, Max.
Good games.
And in TWL Light, we had Paul Lund.
The only one to get Gibsonized really in any of these divisions, or some, I think Division 3 at Nationals was Gibsonized before the last round, but that was really the only Gibsonization.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have my dumb story. I came in 5th. Heading into the last round, all the top 4 people, they were all locked into cash spots. I couldn't catch any of them.
Oh, no.
So I was looking for the pairing to go against 6th, who would in theory be the only person who could catch me.
Yeah.
That did not happen. I played 4th. And I was conducting an interview, and I came in, I went to sit down with the person who was playing 6th, and she's like, "You're not playing me." And I'm like, what is going on? I ran out of the room, looked at the pairing, and was like, what is happening? Ran up to the directors and said, this is crazy. Meanwhile, everybody started playing, so there's just nothing that can be done. I go on to win my game by like 108.
Oh my God.
So I'm like super happy. I've come in 5th. You know, I won $200. That's nothing compared to you big money winners. But I was really excited about it. And I told a couple people, I came in 5th or whatever. And then my girlfriend, Jillian, comes up to me and she goes, you didn't win any money. And I said, well, like I came in 5th. How is that possible? And she said, 5 people had better records than you. So what had happened was the number 6 player, who I had like about an 80-point lead on going into the game, won by 108, won by 264 points.
Oh, geez.
And what I think the lesson here is I wasn't even looking at spread. Like I wasn't thinking about spread. All I was thinking is I have to win this game because I had one of the higher spreads in the field, and I just didn't even consider that anybody could catch me. Anyway, it was embarrassing, but it's my own fault. Because as soon as I went up by 100, I just started shutting everything down.
Right.
And if I had really had my head screwed on straight, instead of
you can't expect the person below you to win by like 80 more points than you.
Yeah.
I think you were fine. You just got the wrong end of the stick, Josh.
So anyway, that's my Niagara story. So let's move on from Niagara. I think it's now time to talk about Nigel Richards.
So everyone has their own theory. What's going on with Nigel? He lost his last 3 games at the North American Championship. He lost his last 2 games in Niagara. Also, for those who don't know, he also lost his last 3 games in the WESPA Championship in 2017, and he lost his last 3 games at the 2017 King's Cup. So if you only look at these games,
like over a year and a half or something like that.
Major championships.
Huge choke jobs.
Exactly.
Right?
Is he choking? Because he's not.
Josh, what do you think? Is he losing his touch?
Occam's razor. He's choking.
All right. So, I mean,
the interesting thing is there's been a lot of debate online with different people lining up with different things. We pulled some quotes, people saying stuff that they wouldn't have said a few years ago, like Nigel is human. I don't think people would have said that before.
I did not think he was human before last week, for sure.
I don't know what that's about, guys.
Other people took the kind of probability approach, saying things like all sets of random data seem to have patterns to us humans.
And I mean, that's the one I support the most, because when you also look at his other tournament results this year, he's won like all 11 of his WESPA tournaments this year. Every single one. So when you look at that data combined with this data, it starts to not be so weird. It's just sort of like some weird anomalies in these big championships.
There are also people who really took the moment on and were like, I think people should question Nigel's plays more often rather than blindly accepting everything he does. No one is infallible. Inflammable. No one is infallible. When we all think alike, none is thinking. So I thought that was an interesting quote. I should really credit these to people, but I just pulled them.
I resemble that.
So anyway, it was interesting. What do you think? If you want to throw stuff into the comments and let us know, is Nigel losing his touch? There's counter arguments as well. Going into these 2 tournaments, Nigel had won 8 of the 9 tournaments that he had entered. So there's a real. I guess those are smaller tournaments. I don't even know what tournaments he plays in other than the major ones, but he seemed to do pretty well in those.
I think he won King's Cup this year as well.
He did.
So it's hard to say, because I mean, the other thing that I think might be going on is that in the final 3 games of any big tournament, people will usually react in one of 2 ways. They will either take the pressure onto themselves and start playing horribly because they're just a mess, or they'll get the adrenaline rush and they're just going to like play the best Scrabble of their entire lives. So I'm thinking, if you look at the last 3 games of these major tournaments where someone like Joel Sherman has to win, he might be the type of guy who takes that pressure and just fuels it into playing the best he's ever played. So that might account for why Nigel does a bit worse in these final games.
Because he's not human.
Well, because other people elevate themselves to superhuman status and join him in those echelons.
So that's a theory that was
Superhumanity.
espoused out there as well. And the flip side of it being that Nigel treats all games the same no matter
Very
what.
true.
He doesn't feel the pressure and therefore
Yeah.
doesn't bring on the additional adrenaline.
And like, for example, in that echoey position we talked about, which has been debated for so long, I've debated it for about an hour at this point. Apparently Nigel took like a minute and a half or 2 minutes on it. He had a lot of time on his clock. He didn't spend 15 minutes analyzing it. So it's true. Nigel seems to treat every game the same. He's very...
Apparently. Well, anyway, I think Nigel still walked away with $7,000 or something, but it could have been 15 if just a couple of draws like that. So pretty amazing. As Josh is showing you, we're running low on time, so let's move on to the next topic really quickly, which is next year's Nationals. So next year's Nationals has not been announced. Traditionally, or at least for the last few years, at each Nationals, there's an announcement as to when the next Nationals will be.
There's rumors.
We usually
know
before. We usually know beforehand, but then it's officially announced.
What was the big rumor this year?
The big rumor this year is Vegas, and usually the rumors are just affirmed at this town hall meeting.
Yes.
But this year, the rumor was not affirmed because there was no announcement.
Absolutely.
So,
and the party line at this point, which I know a little bit of insight about. You were at your first advisory board meeting, which was a dinner. Did you enjoy the dinner?
I loved it. It was so good.
See, I think you, after dinner, there was a hotel room incident where you ate more food. Like you didn't eat enough at the dinner. I think you were a little nervous meeting everyone for the first time. Is that true?
I just didn't eat to my heart's content. That's all that happened.
Okay. Well,
starstruck.
Right, absolutely.
All these big names. So,
well, when it comes to the advisory board dinner, I don't even look at the menu. I just say, bring me the most expensive dish. That's just the way that I do it.
The trick of the trade. That's what I didn't know. But the big announcement for us is that when we do know where 2019 North American Scrabble Championship is going to be held, it's going to be announced right here on NASPA Tonight in this very, somewhere on the screen.
Where I am.
It will be announced on this show as soon as we know. That's the big thing. So tune in if you want to know where the next Nationals is.
Yeah, we should know ahead of time. So we'll be able to promote, hey, if you want to know where the next Nationals is, come watch NASPA Tonight. And I'm just super, maybe to some people it sounds kind of dumb. I'm super excited. And I find it affirming that these guys, these NASPA guys are like, hey, this is where we're going to have the announcement made. So that's super cool. Last big topic here. Niagara Falls next year. There's a lot of people talking about that event is going to go Collins only. What do you think about that, Josh? You came in second place in TWL. What are your feelings about that?
Well, Will came in first place in TWL Nationals last year, and then he came in first place in Collins. So Collins is probably pretty easy to get into, considering all of that. So I think we're going to be fine. If that's how it's going to be, I'm going to be studying those threes. Okay, beware. I'm coming. I'm coming, everybody.
I can't wait. In the comments, please let us know if Niagara Falls goes to Collins only next year. Will you still play? I know I will. I will absolutely play. You can make it any dictionary you want. I'll still play. I'm sure.
What am I going to do?
But Will
play Collins.
Will.
I'm going to go and I'm.
Will. Because he's going to be working on his 2060 TWL Nationals title.
He's got to start preparing.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't think I would play Collins. I would just go work the event. I would imagine that's what my plan would be.
Well, put us in the comments if you will still play Niagara Falls if it goes Collins. I really hope that the answer is a resounding yes. Because
I think that there are people on both sides of this equation. There were 73 people there playing TWL,
there were.
And you may see some percentage of them flip over to Collins.
I know, I was one of the
But there are definitely going to be people who are like, well, what the hell? That's not the book I play. I'm already going to be going in against a field of super strong people, and now you're going to put me in this position. So it's definitely a controversial topic. Go ahead.
Well, about that, many people were saying if you're going to do that, Jason Bergsma, Sue Tremblay, you should have a light division in Collins.
Right.
That's interesting.
Like newcomer, light, whatever, that sort of thing. So that may make sense.
2 divisions, like.
And I would say we're a year out from this, or a little less than a year. Things could totally change. Certainly, I went to both the director and organizer of this event to get quotes. I would say that there was a little daylight between the two of them in terms of what their positions on this were. But certainly there is a cross tables entry that says Collins only right now.
Okay.
But as we know, I think with a lot of your tournaments, those kind of details can change as you go along, like if things need to change for whatever reason.
Yeah. But you will also see my name on there on the Niagara Falls entrance list. Please join my name. Please sign up early. Also, we want to make a quick announcement for the Labor Day tournament in Ottawa.
Absolutely.
Quick plug. Please come out and support it. It's the same organizers as the Niagara Falls tournament. Sue Tremblay and Jason Bergsma. Please come out and support the
Can I play TWL?
August
You definitely
31st through September 2nd.
I think it's
the Labor
September
Day-
1st
Labor
through
Day.
3rd, but you got to get there on the Friday. Oh, on the Friday, there's a Collins only
There is, yeah.
early bird.
In a
So I
pub.
don't know what I'm going to do on the Friday.
So
But
if you drink beer and you
That's
play
right.
Collins,
absolutely. And there's a really nice Collins contingent out there in Ottawa. So I think that's what the thinking is there. But definitely consider Ottawa.
Join all of us in Ottawa. We're all going.
That's
it's
true.
going to be a great time.
That's true. We still haven't decided on where everybody is staying, but that's a hot topic over here behind the scenes. Now, I want to very quickly wish a few people, and some of these people are watching, happy birthday. Tony Leah, Clay Daniel, Ricky Sirios, Travis Cheney, Mel
Sirois.
Jordan. What is it?
Sirois.
Ricky
Thank
Sirois.
you. Sirois. Sorry about that. Harry and Larry Durbin. These are
Wow,
my
what a
favorite
coincidence.
Scrabble playing twins.
Jeez.
I love those guys. I
didn't
want to say a bad
know.
word, but I totally love those guys. Andrew Golding, Sam Masley, the great Jeremy Hildebrand, who loves hashtags.
Who's going to be in Ottawa?
For sure.
Labor Day.
Betsy Wood, Jeremy Hall, Irene Gedney, Mark Abadi, Kenneth Knight, Richard Julian, and
Josh
Greenway.
Today.
Today.
It's his birthday
This was
right now.
yesterday.
Wish him a happy birthday.
Yesterday.
Wait,
Yesterday.
What?
Yesterday.
I thought it was today.
Yesterday.
I wish him happy birthday for nothing today. Wow.
Yesterday. His birthday seems so far away.
For
Happy
sure.
birthday, Josh.
And I want to thank everybody for being here and for commenting. Sarah thinks that people should bring you sandwiches, Jackson, so that you
Wow.
eat more.
Oh, yeah. I always like
Well, because
sandwiches.
Nigel eats sandwiches also.
Cesar says he finished second in like 6 tournaments. I think that went back to some other stuff, but just and
I don't remember that.
and my lovely Jillian talked about. It's our anniversary coming up next weekend. So in between
Whoa.
now,
Whoa.
we'll been
Party.
together for 8 years. Can you believe
Wow.
that? You guys would have
That's
been
amazing.
You
I
guys,
was in elementary.
yeah, you guys were in
Oh
kindergarten
my God.
when Jillian and I met
I was in the womb.
and started dating. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You guys got to the joke before I did.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I want to thank both of you. I want to thank our special guest, Josh, for
Josh.
coming
Thanks for
on in.
Thanks for having me.
and the whole Josh Jr. thing. How do you think Nigel Pelletier feels? He just what can he
There's
do?
no
There's
things
nothing.
into perspective.
You can't fight it.
There's nothing.
I agree.
Okay, we're gonna be back next week, same day, probably the same time.
Oh, I keep working.
And we'll see, and we'll try to keep it to 25 minutes. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. Good night.
Sorry.
See you next
Excuse me.
time.
Hold on, I should have an exit screen here.
Oh, you do.
Here we go. And get rid of the
Thanks.
Scrabble birthdays. There we go. And they can still hear us. Thanks, everybody. Turn it